Okay, we're good. Welcome, everyone. We are going to get started in just a few moments. This is just your reminder that this is our first time using a different Zoom link, so you might have a couple people that need some support getting redirected today. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. All right, as we're letting people in, I just want to do some housekeeping, go over some housekeeping items for everybody. Welcome to your 26th CSC meeting, Stockton. This is your reminder that this is a different link. Folks are joining today, so please be patient if we have some people joining a little bit late. Douglas, do you need support?
I need help. I'm trying to pin my interpreter. It won't let me.
Okay.
Gabby, maybe if you stop sharing your screen for a second, that way we're all...
Yeah. Does it work if we pin the ASL interpreter?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
And Douglas,
great.
we'll have also, we'll have Mark as well.
Okay. Mark will be there as well. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Stephanie. All right. I'm going to go over some housekeeping items now as people are coming in. So just as a reminder for everybody, if you are not speaking during our meeting today, please make sure that you're muting yourself and make sure that we can see your full name and organization on your screen. If you are a CSC member, it'd be great if you could label CSC in the beginning of your name, and same thing if you're a resident using the convention R. For other participants who are a part of the AIR district or the general public, make sure that you use AD or CARB for those entities, or P for the general public. Additionally, if you are affiliated with a different organization, you can also use your organization's name. As you can see on my screen, I have H&Co for Harder & Company. This is also a reminder that if you need support, some of the meeting hosts, including my colleagues at Harder & Company and also AIR District staff, can support in updating your screen name. So let us know if you need any help. Another quick reminder that if you need support linking your phone audio to your video, this is crucial. Today we will be having some breakout groups, so it's important that if you call in as well as join on your computer, that you link these two together. And you can do so by clicking the little caret under the microphone symbol and then linking the phone audio as shown here. Again, here's the reminder about how to change your screen name. We just went over this, but we can return if anybody needs more support. And reminder again that if you call in, you will need to press *6 to unmute yourself. And then similarly, *9 to raise your hand. And you can use the same symbols, so *6 again to remute yourself and *9 again to lower your hand. And then residents in the stipend program should stay for at least 75% of the meeting today to be eligible for the stipend. So that's just about 90 minutes during this 2-hour meeting. Finally, I want to remind everybody of our shared agreements for these conversations. So just very briefly, you know, helping achieve the meeting goals, letting everybody participate, being civil and respectful, staying on point and on time, attacking the problem, not the person, setting some common ground. And then they are here in Spanish, but we don't have the need for Spanish translation today. For today's agenda, we have a little bit of time for this welcome. We also have a couple of items we want to update you on. So first, this action items tracker that Jessica and our co-host Taylor will be sharing. And then also we will be talking about subcommittees today. So we'll have just about like an hour to talk about subcommittees. We'll be going into some breakout groups, so you'll have plenty of time to interact with one another and do some brainstorming today. And then some of our final items include standing updates at 6:40, wrap up and next steps at 6:50, and public comment at 6:55. All right, I am going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see everybody who's here today. So next, I would like to actually hand it off to Jessica from the Air District for some welcoming remarks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gabby. I first just want to thank all of you who have been a part of this process so far. Really today, as you will hear from Taylor, is really just a culmination of a lot of the work, not only that you all helped in order to develop the SERP, but also a lot of the recent work in order to sort of prioritize SERP measure implementation, as well as break up certain SERP measures into proposed subcommittees. And so you probably saw from the agenda, but you'll definitely hear and see in the next exercise in a moment here, that the rest of this meeting is about how we get the work done in those subcommittees. So I want to thank our co-host, our community co-host, Taylor, who has just done such a fabulous job leading up to well before this meeting, actually, but certainly in the past few weeks in preparation for this meeting. We have a lot of great feedback we worked with from the agenda setting meeting on materials that you all felt you needed in order to have subcommittee discussion. So that's a lot of the presentation materials you'll see today, but also some great forethought really from Taylor and our facilitation team, our new facilitation team. So we hope that you enjoy this. It's going to be a very interactive, engaging, hopefully, process. And I just want to now pass it off to Taylor, who is our community co-host, to welcome you all.
Hey everybody, Taylor Williams, resident with the CSC, as I think we all know now after working almost 2 years together, which feels pretty wild to say. But yeah, I mean, to Jessica's point, like we've done like so much work in this group up to this point, like following our SERP getting approved by CARB in July, we immediately, like within a week, had amended the charter to talk about like how we structure subcommittees and move implementation forward through that mechanism. And then we broke it out into subcommittee buckets, and Air District introduced this tracker so we can like continue like monitoring what is actually going on in these subcommittees, how we're addressing these measures over time, and kind of from like a bird's eye view. And then the last meeting, I know Little Manila prepared a agenda template that we're really starting to get like tactical and like what tools that we use to actually move this work forward. And I'll be sharing out another tool for like a work plan template for planning purposes for individual subcommittees as well, as a totally optional tool to help people plan within these. And then yeah, today will be like super focused on like how we identify which subcommittees we're most interested in joining, potentially even co-leading, and start to flesh out the details of like what measures are involved and how we move them forward. So, I mean, we've done like a lot of foundational work up to this point, and I think this is going to be like really lay some important groundwork of like how we actually implement these over the next 4 years together, because it's going to be a lot of work. And I think we've already like identified that like this is not the venue to like do all of that. It happens between meetings, in subcommittee meetings, and this is the place where we can come back together and talk about the progress that we're making together. So hopefully today is like importantly about laying that foundation of getting the work done over time. So I feel really excited to get the co-host today, and yeah, I'll pass it back to the Air District.
I'll go to Gabby.
Thanks. Thank you, Taylor. We're excited to have our first facilitated session with a co-host, a community co-host. So this will be really great for the CSC to see all the things that you helped to prepare for this call. So actually, to get us started, the first item that we're going to be going over is the action items tracker. So just to remind everybody, one of the things we discussed together last time was around how we can keep track of some of our action items and make sure that we have a way to see where the progress is and see who's leading what. So the Air District has done some work on this goal of yours, and Taylor in the Air District will be sharing more just now about what they've put together and the purpose of that tracker. So I'll actually hand it back to both Jessica and Taylor for this piece.
Great. And so I'm sharing my screen. Taylor, do you want me to start introducing and maybe I can pass it to you or, okay. So yeah, I'll just be really brief because I think Gabby actually captured really it's I think simple in the sense that in order to hold our district and really each other, I should say, because it's not just Air District tasks listed on here, but hold each other accountable and be a little bit more transparent about some of the items that are still pending. And not only transparent, but just remind each other, right? I mean, I'm one of those people that has to write down things that I need to do, and I like having it all in one space. And so if we are all working sort of off the same to-do list, if you will, the thought here was that we put together this this tracker where we have at the top action items that still require some outcome or some associated answer, as well as action items that have been completed or questions that have been answered. And so we put this together. We did share it because Taylor is the community co-host. We also briefly shared it at the agenda setting meeting a couple of weeks ago, although it wasn't in its exact current form. And so, Taylor, I don't know if you have anything else that you wanted to add before maybe we solicit just, I guess, feedback and questions on this item in particular.
Yeah, I think only that like this is definitely a direct response to, I think, a need that people had articulated in the last meeting and in the agenda setting meeting, that this is a good way for us to, again, just like remind each other and be in a transparent process around, you know, if it doesn't appear in like the meeting summary or notes, that this is a good place to say like, these are the particular action items that we need to tackle, like who is responsible for them, what is their status, and then like what outcomes are we actually driving towards, like what is the update on it. And then there's this additional column around, if relevant, what are the associated public health concerns. So just, I mean, yeah, running through like structurally, but other than that, I think, yeah, you've really captured like the purpose and the need and like where it came from, so.
And we do have, I just personally, as someone who's helping kind of our team put this together, we definitely are open if there are a couple of different ways we can organize this. Right now, since we're operating off of the most recent meeting, which was just our October meeting, we are, you can see that it just has the most recent meeting, the dates on this side and all the action items. As we move forward, we have organized it with pending on top and completed gets shifted to the bottom when they're complete, and then we'll just keep them in date chronological order. We wanted to know if that made sense for folks or if it made more sense to have them like in sections where like you scroll down to the particular meeting you were interested in and it just lives as like meeting by meeting. I don't know if there were thoughts, or in general, if no one has any comments, we can just assume that pending on top makes the most sense. So you kind of know where your eye takes you straight to. I have all these notifications. We're trying to do attendance in the background, so you're probably seeing notifications pop up. But you know, if it makes sense to have pending things happening on top, so you know where it's straight to go to, or if you have things that you wanted to be more structured in the most recent meetings. Kind of those are the two options we were thinking. But if there's no comments, then maybe we can just assume that this layout makes most sense.
I have a comment.
Yeah,
this is Marco.
share.
I'm not sure. I haven't worked with this tracker, but I wonder if is it in a kind of a format? Is it one of those formats where you can like click on the top of the
like filter it or sort it,
or like select a different say
right.
It's all in chronological order and I want to go into some other order. Can you do
right.
Is this a live?
We don't have it in an Excel format So that would probably be the easiest way for that to happen. And that's for a couple of reasons, although we can certainly see a couple, and I'm going to stop sharing because I don't like not talking to people and I can't see people when I'm sharing. There are a couple of reasons right now that doesn't make sense. One is that we actually have found, and it's through trying to do trackers in other capacities, you can't add multiple links into one cell on Excel that are live and available for folks. And so that does make it a little bit difficult. Say if the question was, how can I find more information on this? And we wanted to send you off to a couple of different locations, or if we wanted to reference something that was maybe something that we wanted to point you to on the website. So that wouldn't be available in Excel. And we are also, and this is just kind of a process thing, although we're definitely open to changing and all the responses and comments from you all. We are also looking a little bit to streamline from community to community if possible. That way folks who are maybe interested globally in AB617 work can know how to track action items across the different communities. And the reason that becomes difficult, and may even soon, depending on needs in Stockton, be a little difficult, is it's very hard to do Spanish, to translate all of this into Spanish in an Excel format. And so we find that Word makes the translation easier so that all of the proper sort of, punctuation and such kind of are all, make it all grammatically correct in Spanish. And so it is a little difficult to do that. It's actually pretty, we probably wouldn't be able to do that in Spanish in Excel. For our other communities, that is a requirement. And then if ever that was something that, say, someone wanted in this community. So those are kind of the two things that we weighed, although we do hear you, and I do agree that sorting would help make it a little bit better. So maybe it is something we can consider. But I see Catherine's hand up as well.
Yeah, go ahead, Catherine.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. This is Catherine. First, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who put in the work on this. I think this is a much needed measure that will help with accountability and transparency, and I definitely can look at it in more detail later. Generally, it looks like a good start. I think my one clarifying question is about how much the updates will be written on this chart, and we're supposed to refer to it when there are follow-up items, and when items will actually be verbalized in the meetings, and if you all have thought about differentiating between those two.
Definitely, and I think this is going to evolve. One thing we did in practice at the last agenda setting, which is a place I think there'll be maybe more capacity, although I'm open to any thoughts, I think we all are, would be, I would love to, and maybe if we have, I think this is maybe the intention, if we have still time on this agenda, I think we have a good half hour right here. I mean, we can go through right now. That could be part of what we can do. Maybe not every meeting we have a good half hour like we do here on this agenda item. So maybe it's done more in the agenda setting meetings where we're saying, hey, by the way, based on the last meeting, there's 5 things. We actually did this the last agenda setting meeting. Here's the changes we made. We outlined it and showed folks. But if there aren't questions or answers to structure, I'm actually happy right now, Catherine, to go through these action items now and provide a verbal update or comment if folks are interested.
We definitely have the time, so curious to those who know how to access reactions, if I could get a couple thumbs up just to gauge where people are at in terms of wanting to hear some updates from the Air District on the action item. See 1 thumbs up from Margot. Anybody else? I see physical thumbs up, so I can see those too, so that works for me.
Perfect.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm super happy to do so, and I think this is certainly, however we set the agenda, if we want to leave space where we maybe highlight some main action items at every meeting, we are happy to do any of that. And then to Catherine's point, no matter what, before the next meeting, you will always have at least a written update that should be posted and will be posted on the main Stockton AB617 page, in addition to any verbal updates. Maybe I'll go really quickly to things that we've done so folks know that they happened. And so One of them, and you will see it in practice today as well, it is probably happening at this very moment, is work that Carter and Company is doing to take notes on action items. It's sort of very meta to be talking about action item notes as we talk about these exact notes. And this is something that we have already posted from the last meeting and you are seeing in practice now, so that has been completed. Making sure that we have a chat transcript and comments represented correctly. Anything that's chat and comments that are posted, we are just posting directly to the website. So there's no amending of any of the chat transcript. It's actually being posted directly to the meeting. And I can go actually into the website here in a second and show you a couple of these things. CSC members need information on how to get assigned to subcommittees. We did talk a little bit at the last meeting, but I think things are shifting, and today is a perfect example of how you can sort of not only self-select into subcommittees, maybe you want to take more of a leadership role in, but we have all so far, and this is something that can evolve as the CSC wishes, but everyone is actually invited to participate in any and all subcommittees and will get the calendar and email invite for subcommittee meetings. But that can certainly shift, and I think a lot of discussion on actually that particular topic will happen during our breakout groups. We starting to collect attendance in terms of understanding like subcommittees and kind of what future meetings and what even pending meetings that have maybe not even been scheduled. And I will show you here in a moment, all of the subcommittees that you'll probably see here in much more detail when we actually go through the exercise have been placed on our website. And so that was something that we completed as well. And then a survey talking about participating in CEQA was sent out to everyone as Scott promised. So that was something that was completed. Some action items that we are in progress or working on. This check on clarification for issues that need to be addressed in the next meeting at the end of each meeting. That's something that we are looking forward to. We will make that space at the end of every meeting for folks, especially if you can't make the agenda setting meeting. And so it says ongoing because it's kind of never complete, but maybe we can move that to complete because it's sort of assuming it still works for everyone, something that we will always look to do. An ongoing list of CSC participant contact information, and in terms of especially bringing people that have not been here. I actually can at any point, it says if CSC desires, we have actually reached out to folks and we're happy to give it space on the agenda. We can even talk about it at the next agenda setting meeting. Maybe it's an item on the agenda where we talk about the attendance audit we did, the folks we reached out to, and maybe even get from you all next steps on how to increase participation. Changing identification in front of participants' name to be more easily identified. This, again, it's ongoing. So again, it could be moved to complete, but just want to check in with you that things are working. You actually saw some of those Slack messages you saw pop up were exactly that. It was us renaming folks so that we can all make sure that it's a little bit easier and clearer. We are working on this. There were a lot of questions. The last meeting was mostly about enforcement, if you recall. And so we are working on a couple of different things. One is answering all these questions and maybe clarifying. There were some questions. We gave you a really detailed enforcement report, but maybe summarizing it in a little bit easier way to digest. That is happening, and we should have answers to all of these, and we will just email all of you. We won't make everyone wait until the next meeting to see the answers to both 4 and 5, which are follow-ups to the enforcement presentation. This is something that we've been doing, but definitely want to make sure that we have dates to make it easier to access. So we actually not only have documents that have been presented, but we also have an archive of every email we've ever sent to you that lives also on the website. And once again, in 2 seconds here, I will pop over and show all of these on the website. So this again is ongoing. Maybe it can be moved to completed if everyone's sort of satisfied with all of it. And stop me, I can't see chats or hands, so stop me if I know I'm just kind of scrolling down, but maybe this is just sort of a good reminder of the questions that came up last meeting. Something that to be considered, CARB. So some of these, just so you all know, we did forward all of these to CARB, and CARB has been working with us on getting these answered, and we can send out or even make space at the meeting in the future, again, with the agenda setting group, for maybe CARB to provide those answers, or again, the district to provide answers for these enforcement questions. Use the format template linked here. Good action items on subcommittees. This is actually something that you will see in practice today. So we're really, really excited about kind of all of the progress you'll see regarding subcommittee agendas and notes. This was a great question about truck strategies and subcommittee. And again, this is probably a complete one in the sense that it is on the table today to meet about. And again, every subcommittee that everyone requested will be on the table today to discuss. Once again, there is the survey that is pending completion. There will be results sent out, and that is a CARB action. And then finally, discussing a WEHA presentation and encouraged to attend agenda setting meeting. We definitely, I think at the next agenda setting meeting, definitely need to work with everyone on that. It's something that we were working very closely, and CARB has been working very hard. Kudos to Scott on working with WEHA to set up a meeting, and definitely need to, again, get some more feedback from everyone on kind of the final details of what that could be. I talked a lot, but I will just show you a couple more things here that are related to all of the updates I gave. And that is here on the 617 Stockton page. I'll just highlight a couple of the things I just mentioned. One is that for every steering committee meeting, or sorry, subcommittee meeting, we've now have cards for every single subcommittee that you will be discussing today, as well as relevant information and links to all of the measures that are outlined, so you don't have to go and find the SERP and look up what the measures look like. Some of them have much more detail, and some of them already have been getting started. And so we have that agenda that we talked about at the last meeting, as well as actual action items, the chat transcript I just mentioned, and meeting notes are all found here under subcommittees. You can also navigate here for any of those subcommittees. You can also go back to the main Stockton page, go to our steering committee meetings page, and that's where these action items now live. So you can actually see a running list of all of the different questions I just showed you in that table. These were action items that were shared live with you at the end of the meeting. We just post them raw right here. So there's no changes made to them. They're everything that you see summarized. And then finally, again, I mentioned all of the items, so presentations, all of the reports we mentioned, the agenda, as well as the transcript. I'm sure you all know this from seeing all of these month after month, but things are changing, right, with Harder and all of the great work that some of you all have done. So those are sort of the quickest updates. But I'm happy. I know we can't probably spend half an hour every meeting doing that. But to Catherine's point, I'm happy maybe to work with any of the co-hosts that volunteer for the next meeting to maybe find a couple of points that are the high level points we all want to discuss. And we can do a rundown at every meeting, but like in a condensed version. So I talked a lot. I'm happy to maybe pass it to Taylor if you had any other thoughts or comments on some of the questions we've received.
Not on the action item tracker. I think that about covers it.
Yeah, I think there were enough said, certainly. Any other questions before I pass it back to Gabby?
I see Scott has their hand up.
Hi, good evening. So just, I guess as a point of clarification, as kind of somebody who's also involved and maybe has some of the action items on this tracker, what I'm trying to figure out, like, if we have actually updates on things that are on there that we'd like to share with the committee, would you prefer that we do that during this time period in future meetings? Or I guess logistically how that will work going forward would be helpful to understand.
I think moving forward, this particular thing needs, maybe it's a standing agenda setting meeting topic, and it's, okay, what action items do we want to acknowledge at the next meeting, so that we can maybe allocate the specific time. I'm seeing a thumbs up from Taylor. So at the agenda setting meeting next week, Scott, maybe it's, okay, CARB has these great answers. Hey, agenda folks, can we spend 10 minutes reviewing some of these high level things and save some of those 10 minutes for CARB? That way we know we have time for them, you know, especially if there's other actions we need to take. And then to your point, Scott, I think just in addition, of course, just sending, if there are written, some things are just sort of like, hey, we did this. It's not really written feedback so much as it's a check in the box. But if it is written feedback, sending that over, we will populate it and post it and show everyone, of course, where it's posted. That can be in addition to whatever verbal comments.
Great, thanks for that clarification.
Any other questions? I just want to note Debbie posted a quick comment in the chat, so we'll note that in the action items just for a grammatical fix.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else around this action item, we can go ahead and transition to start talking about the subcommittees. So I'm actually going to hand it back to Jessica for this piece.
So I will start, and again, I'm happy to pass any of this off to Taylor. Taylor's done so much work. He mentioned amending the charter, but as you all know, a lot of that work was Taylor and his knowledge of the community and how sort of what capacity all of you as residents and community members have to do a lot of this community driven work. A couple of things I will say is what we're about to embark on really today and kind of throughout this process is very new to the district. We've already been doing implementation or working on implementation in Fresno and in Shafter communities, but it's looked very different than this. And so we're really excited to work with you all on sort of this new process. A couple of things I will just share my screen again, but I promise to share slightly different materials, although they will live in the same place you've seen, is just a quick reminder of sort of where we've come and a lot of the work that we've done, not only in the charter that was mentioned earlier, but also in discussing prioritization for getting measures completed. We talked a lot about, well, maybe I'll even share with you, and I like clicking through this so you all can remind each other and I can remind us where we all provided a lot of input and where it lives. Everything lives on this site. And one of the things we did is we did a prioritization survey. So I'm going to briefly click on that just to kind of remind folks. We prioritized categories of measures, and then within each category actually prioritized individual measures, and sort of using that basis of understanding what the community was interested in working on first, rather than not meaning that we don't want to work on the other things, but maybe things that we know that we can maybe have fewer updates, maybe we don't need subcommittees on. We kind of did this in sort of our first cut at what can we as a district work on independently, and what things did we need a lot of CSC support on based on CSC input. So then we went through an exercise where you all broke out into breakout groups, and we went through sort of measure by measure and grouped them into these different, what we are now calling subcommittees. And so there were several notes about sort of the things we wanted to keep in mind for measures. We talked about partners, but breaking these out into subcommittees was a lot of really great input and a lot of really great work. Based on all of that sort of groundwork we did, not only establishing the CERT, but establishing priorities. And so with that, and from here, I have really only technical support, very little to do with a lot of the rest of this. If you don't mind, Taylor, will pass it to you, and I'm happy to keep this open or not. But just from there was a lot of discussion on how are we going to get these subcommittees off the ground. And so a lot of really great brainstorming and a lot of really great legwork from Taylor, our co-host, and I will pass it to him to sort of explain sort of the next steps and then kind of what it will mean for the exercise.
Yeah, of course. So actually, Jessica, if you want to click into the trees subcommittee, maybe we can look in one of the tools is already available, that top, that agenda, the Google Drive link. So this is an agenda template. This is an example that came out of the agenda template as one tool that, as you enter a subcommittee or even maybe choose to co-lead a subcommittee, where you can capture, what are the meeting objectives, our desired outcomes for the group as a whole, what are some of our linked resources and documents that'll be really helpful for driving outcomes within this group, and then the actual agenda itself. And this essentially, you can just copy and paste this for every meeting towards the top of it, so you can have an ongoing, one, you know what you're doing in this next meeting, but two, you can see here what was accomplished in the last one. So this is like one tool that is like available to any one subcommittee. This is just an example from the trees subcommittee. And Jess, am I able to share my screen?
Yes,
I wanted to briefly
absolutely.
share.
Stop.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly share another tool. I gotta get this video panel out of my way. That I just want to show as like an optional piece for folks who maybe want to like do a lot of planning and really engage deeply in a subcommittee. So I put together a template for an example subcommittee for essentially like a work plan. And this is where you might track what needs to get done over what period of time to drive the outcomes that we're going to start to establish today. So along the left side here, I just have some examples of like things that you might need to accomplish as a subcommittee to start laying the groundwork of how you advance the work. So that might be like establishing meeting cadence and time, identifying co-leads, and then all these other pieces around, what are our project outcomes, who needs to be invited into the room, and then who owns those tasks. So I've made up some names here. So for like line 5, maybe Jose is in charge of identifying an initial list of potential technical advisors. But Josie and Carb staff can help support on that and be brought into the process. And the status column here is says whether it's completed or done, if you're continuing to work on it, or if you're stalled in some way. Does it need review, or does it need a meeting for further discussion within your subcommittee? Followed by due dates and any notes. These might be actually captured from actual subcommittee time, and like things that are discussed during those meetings, and then any action that is needed. And again, to use this example on line 5, that maybe you add an agenda item for the next subcommittee meeting to brainstorm potential technical advisors, or you need to add particular groups to the tracker. So I just want to share this briefly because it's just another tool that would be available. It's like totally optional. Like this is overwhelming to you and you have your own planning process, or if it doesn't do everything that you need it to do, feel free to not. But just wanted to share like another potential way to like start planning through the work that we need to accomplish over these subcommittees over the next few years. All with the goal of today, essentially, we want to start identifying what are the particular details of a subcommittee that we need to flesh out. So we want to make sure, I contributed like this template, Little Manila contributed the agenda template, and I know that the Air District and other committee partners are going to be like huge supports throughout this process. But today is really aimed at like, and I'll navigate over to this window, identifying what do we need to know about each subcommittee and who is most interested in joining or leading those. So again, I'm going to lean on this example of trees because I've already held a couple of subcommittee meetings. But in general, we're gonna get into breakout rooms, and I know Gabby will share a bit more logistically about how we self-select into those breakouts. And once we're there, identify a facilitator for the group. So who's gonna like pose these questions that we'll get into in a second, and like run the group through the exercise. A note taker, where there is space to take notes on all the questions that are posed by the facilitator.
Taylor, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you. I just want to check that Douglas is able to see Mark for interpretation. We just had Mark join. Douglas, are you able to see Mark? And if you're speaking, we cannot hear you, Douglas.
Hi guys, sorry for my tardiness. Doug turned off his camera. I'm not sure if he's sitting there at his desk, but Brian and I are still doing our thing. So please continue, and when he comes back, I'll make sure that we're connected.
Okay, thank you so much.
Just real quick, since we have the break here, you will be able to make sure that Mark and I are in the same breakout room?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we will move you. Thank you. And thanks for that, Taylor.
Yeah, I'll share again briefly, keep running through the exercise. Yeah, so once we've identified like our facilitators and note takers, and I don't think, so the timekeeper for each of these goals for the conversation and these questions, you'll see there's a certain amount of time dedicated to each of them. So timekeeper will just help move the group through the exercise and make sure that we're able to get to all of these goals. So high level goals for today during our breakout sessions is, one, spend a few minutes just to get to know each other a little bit better. So why are you most interested in joining this particular subcommittee on this topic? Like what brings you to care so much about trees or bike infrastructure, or whatever it is. Then we're going to spend some time just revisiting the measures themselves. I think the worth of this exercise is in how well we understand the measures going into it. So definitely want to take the time to understand what is actually a part of these subcommittees and what questions we have about those measures. And then we'll get into some of the more tactical pieces of this. So first thing we'll want to do is identify co-leads. So overall responsibilities will essentially be like hosting and facilitating meetings, which includes like drafting agendas, sending out action items, tracking the work plan or whatever version of a work plan you prefer, and then communicating with the Air District and the implementation partners. And I think there's a very important note here that I had mentioned briefly and just want to emphasize, is that co-leads are going to have a ton of support from both Air District and other committee members and even implementation partners where appropriate. So I hope folks don't feel like too turned off by like this is like a responsibility that is going to take all of your time. You're going to have tons of support. And then most of the remaining time is going to be dedicated to brainstorming. So at this phase of implementation, we're going to have a huge list of unknowns, I think, for all of these. So starting with even as simple as what are the actual goals of the subcommittee? What information do I need as a participant to faithfully join the subcommittee and participate? Followed by a brainstorm of who should our implementing partners be that we bring into the room? Who are our local partners that can actually advance these goals? And finally, hopefully we'll have time to actually schedule an initial kickoff meeting, talk about date and time and the cadence. How often do we want to meet as a group? And yeah, I think that's it at a high level. If other people want to like provide extra context or detail, please do.
Yeah, well, first of all, you probably can't see because it's hard when you're sharing your screen, but lots of kudos being sent to all of the committee members that really helped get us here. Certainly you, Taylor, and all of the work here. I want to acknowledge our facilitators for really helping get this process, like taking the vision and definitely helping us build it out as well. And then lots of kudos, and I couldn't agree more, to Little Manila for that initial sort of, I would say, kind of really that kickstart for this community driven sort of like leadership process. I agree. I thought we had a really great tree subcommittee. And I think it was a perfect example of sort of what Taylor's outlining here in terms of how we can have community-led subcommittees. And so the goal of today is to, you know, I think I mentioned it earlier, there are probably a few of you who are interested in participating or being plugged into all of the subcommittees. There are probably a few of you who have, you know, based on there's so much going on in your life and in this world and in your work, that attending these CSC meetings is about the capacity you have to engage. And so we understand there's a spectrum, and we understand with this exercise, you are basically working toward self-selecting into just one subcommittee, but that is not going to pin you into just one subcommittee. We are looking today to see what subcommittee you are like the most maybe interested in or passionate about, or maybe you, whether it's interest or passion, or you just know, you know way too much about infrastructure to not self-select into the infrastructure subcommittee. That if you go into that group and then we can kind of work through these exercises, it will help us establish main point people. And I'll say it that way because I think there's going to be a spectrum. Little Manila, the type of work they do and the way that subcommittee was run was so great. And there was a lot of work put into it. And I know there was a lot of thought behind it. I don't want that amazing amount of work to deter you from volunteering to maybe be a leader in another subcommittee. Taylor mentioned it a couple times already. I just want to reiterate his great point that if you find we go into breakout groups and there are 2 of you, and don't fret and be like, oh, I don't want to lead this. It could end up being that some subcommittees are a little bit more, the district can help facilitate, the facilitators work into it. We work with some of our community groups, but we definitely want to make sure people just feel supported, and people really let us know. This will help us, I should say, know really maybe where some of the priorities lie just by self-selection alone. Not all subcommittees need to launch tomorrow. Also, I think there's an acknowledgement that capacity-wise on your end, on our end, on CARB's, there's a lot of technical people that want to help support and need to help support. So we also can't, we can't all say, okay, we all want to have our first meeting the first week of December. So there will be probably a layered approach, but again, it will be based on a lot of the discussions that will happen in these groups. The final thing I want to mention is that during the agenda setting meeting where a lot of this kind of like thought of exactly this exercise came out, one of the questions I had for some folks, and I just want to let everyone know that we had this discussion, was there have been comments that I totally think are, it was just so nice to hear and have this discussion about making these things, these meetings, these CSC meetings, whether it's subcommittee groups or this group, feel like it is the majority of the community participating and not a lot, say, of district staff or a facilitated staff. And, we definitely need to run these meetings with a set number of people that take attendance and help move the agenda along, help make sure that the interpreters are pinned correctly, help make sure we let people in the meeting or help with tech support. But in these subcommittee groups, I did ask the question, typically we would have them facilitated by a district or CARB staff. And both the district and CARB are super willing to provide as many people as we needed. But the comments that we received, and I think it's this awesome opportunity where let's see how this works as sort of community facilitated groups. And so to Taylor's point, the facilitator in your group and the note taker in your group, when we break out, those will be not district or CARB folks. Those will be you. But we are all here still. So if there are questions, we can pop into your group and help answer questions. So I definitely wanted to acknowledge, we thought about it. We are happy and willing. And if this turns out maybe we might need a little more support next time, we're happy to bring staff to support breakout groups at any point. But I'm really, really glad we had that discussion with you all. I just want to go ahead, Gabby.
No, Douglas has their hand raised. Want to make sure if you have any questions, Douglas, or you need support, Mark is here as well now.
Yeah, I was just, Jessica, I have a question regarding the meeting to the organization, the community. To reach out, the thing that is a more effective, community of people with disability. Would it be elderly people? Would it be children? Would it be people in my situation have a disability? With that is our group that's been outcast, buried, but their need for service for an incentive, make sure they have trees, make sure they have things like that, but in a different area of a community. Because if I see people say, oh, we have a community that's taking spot and taking whatever, but they have no disability in their organization or in their so-called stuff in the meeting, then to me that's not it's still segregated. You know what I mean? So we need to get more input from people who are affected by the element more prevalent than other people. Just like we had a blackout, I did it with a blackout and come out in Stockton, and there were people, the PG called me, and I think it was Kina Lima, and she's one of the commissioners that was formerly in the city. She called and she asked me, I advised what I would do if there was a blackout. And that with people with a respirator and things like that, do we have a portable energy energy so we don't pollute or anything like that. You know what I mean? So those are the things that is more are not being talked about and not having ideas that the other community are not involved with other communities that are able to help out you guys. You know what I mean? So I think that I would like to see that comment that nobody has been guiding that we're still forgotten people that we're still to have. You know, so that was my biggest concern. That's all. Thank you.
Doug, I wonder if as an action item, we can work with you offline to help. You can connect us with some of those, what you think are good resources, so we can make sure that these processes, especially as we make them sort of, we kind of spread out now and do all of these smaller groups, that we still are thinking of the communities that you just mentioned and that we are being equitable in that access. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Douglas. On a different note, if it's possible for us to support you with calling in today, I think that would really help as you participate in the breakout groups, because there's a little bit of audio feedback at your current audio channel. So let's see if someone on our team or the Air District can help support you calling in. Any questions from other folks about what Jessica has shared? Yeah, Mariah.
Hi. I missed the last meeting, but I really appreciate all of the work that's been done. Really so excited to be a part of this process. My question is, I see the list of the subcommittees. Thank you for sharing those in the chat. And I know that we're going to go into breakout groups to talk more about it, but I was just wondering if this was the, like, if we are going to be able to add other groups, other subcommittees to that list. I'm not saying like 10, but just like a few others based on measures that are in the SERP.
Yeah, I can answer that question. I mean, certainly, and maybe we were talking about this, and I think it's in here. There's like, is there an other? Did we decide to do that?
There is, yeah. I see other. Yeah.
I think if we let's have folks that maybe if you feel strongly that your number one that you want to sort of work on is outside of those, definitely please join us in other, and we can discuss that. And I think, to your point, Mariah, we as a district, I'm happy to have that conversation and see what those measures are. Because I think too, some of these, maybe if it's a question of the types of measures, I think collectively the ones that the district or the CSC came up with, that the district has shared, that we shared on our website, were the ones that the CSC felt strongly needed a lot of like development and work. Maybe it was something that isn't typically done at the district level, or something that maybe had a particular type of outreach that needed to be done, although all of the ones that were recommended are what we put up there. So I'm wondering, when we talk in the other, and anyone who else would like to join us, I'm wondering if there's particular one you have a question about, and then we can kind of see what the next steps could be, or we do meet like in a one-off meeting off, invite anyone, or we have that discussion during the next CSC meeting, depending on the measure.
Perfect. Thank you for asking that, or answering that. Sorry, I asked. It's been a long day, but thank you.
Understandable. No problem.
Thank you. I want to address Mary Elizabeth's question very quickly, and then help us transition into those breakout groups. So Mary Elizabeth's question is about what measures are included in the infrastructure subcommittee, apologies. And so shortly we'll be sending out some links to some handouts that Taylor shared. And so those links will be used for the purposes of your facilitating those breakout groups. So for each of you to go through each of those questions on there. One of the tables on there talks about measures. You will see there's a hyperlink there. So you can click on the hyperlink for the measures to see the associated measures for each subcommittee. Alternatively, you can also go on your CSC site, and you can navigate to the page where all the subcommittees are, and all the measures are listed on there as well. There's a PDF handout there for each of the subcommittees. So those are the two ways to access there. All right. So I would like to briefly share my screen so that we can transition over to this piece now. So here on the screen, you should be able to see shortly. Here we go. Here's a list of the subcommittees that we have today. So these breakout groups are going to be self-selected. So ideally, if you have the most recent version of Zoom, you should easily be able to click into the subcommittee that you're interested in. However, we know that there can be technical difficulties sometimes. So we are asking everybody to once again rename themselves. I know today's just a day filled of renaming yourself, but just to use the naming convention here. So for each subcommittee, trees, you'll use T at the beginning of your name, RS for residential strategies, HDT for heavy duty trucks, and so forth. If you are interested in joining the group other, you can just use NA at the beginning of your name. So this will help us in the event that we can't, that you can't select into a room, we will know which room to move you to. So I will give folks a couple of minutes to transition into doing that. And let me take a look at the chat to see if there's any questions about that. Okay. And just to remind everybody about what the goals are, as Taylor mentioned earlier, once you go into those breakout rooms, make sure that you've clicked on the link for the subcommittee handout for your topic. And really the goals here at the beginning are to identify someone who can help to facilitate the conversation, somebody who can help to keep track of time, and then somebody who might also be willing to share their screen, as well as somebody who can take notes. If you're comfortable taking on more than one role, feel free to do so, but it will be really helpful for your group to identify these different roles. As Jessica mentioned, the Air District won't necessarily be facilitating these conversations. That said, once everybody's in their rooms, we will be bouncing around both the Air District as well as Harder & Company staff, just to check in on you, see if you have any questions, and if there's anything we can help you with. So don't fret, we will be moving around just to see if there's anything we can support with. With that said, I want to point everybody's attention back to the chat. If you scroll a little bit up, there's a post from my colleague Jessica Silva with all of the links. We will also move around into your breakout room shortly to drop those same links in case you didn't have a chance to access them ahead of time. All right, and then I think I'm just going to confirm with my team that we're ready to open the breakout rooms. I think we are. All right, okay, so if you got a pop-up, go ahead and choose the one that you're interested in joining. And we will help to move people over these next couple of minutes as well. If you are here, on the YouTube live, we will be dropping in potentially some links so that you can watch some videos in the meantime.
Hi, group. Sorry to bother. I want to make sure that Douglas is able to call in. If we can have somebody provide some assistance with that. It looks like Doug has tried to call in and he is struggling.
Hi, Mark. I sent Douglas the 800 number as well as the meeting and the code. Let me know if he's having any issues.
So Douglas is saying, so I tried calling that number. It's not allowing me in. It's not granting me access. It did ask for the ID, which I did enter that ID number in and the password.
Okay, let me see.
Alternatively, I think we can get Douglas to call in a number that I'm going to drop in the chat. And then they will have to, so that's the number in the chat. Then they will have to enter the meeting ID, which I will just now drop in the chat as well. And then when the number's here, we can link them. And for folks who have not made their way into a breakout room, I can drop again in the chat the naming convention so we know where you want to go, or you can unmute yourself and let us know and we can move you.
This is SB. I do want to go to the EV one. However, I have a conflict. I have to get into another call at 6 p.m. So how do I do that? Because I want to be in that one, and Cynthia's here and Arlene's running late. So, and we were trying to do outreach, EVMT, and the residential is the one that's going to be working on the air monitors, correct?
Air filtration is the residential measure.
So the air filtration one is the residential one. So that,
correct.
In terms of like, that won't include like the air monitors then on the outside?
No, yeah. So we still have that going under the camp subcommittee that's been meeting. But yes, so that's
under the camp. Oh, okay.
That will just, all of these are just the new ones under the CERP.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Absolutely.
So then, in terms of that, can you sign me up for it? And then I can, like, whenever they decide they're going to meet
100%.
the electric vehicle.
Okay. Now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on the phone. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm tweaking to trees. So how do I do that?
You want to go to trees. Okay. Let me see if I can link your audio, unless somebody just did that.
Because Mark, I have Mark in a bigger screen and it won't let me let him go down.
No problem.
So, okay.
Okay, so I think we can move both your phone number as well as you into trees. Is that what you just said?
Well, I took the pin, I removed Mark's pin out, so now I see all you guys on the individual now. So.
Oh, I think you just hung up, Douglas.
I just moved him.
Oh, I see. You just moved.
Okay, his audio has moved.
Okay, and let's move
his video.
Also his video and then the interpreters.
There he goes.
They're
So
going to
now
trees?
we're in the interpreters.
Okay. To trees. Okay. Anyone else on here need support?
Hi, Florence. Do you want to join a room for Ed?
This is Florence. I'm actually I was writing a note to Gabby. I want to get into the EVMT group, but I don't know how to get there.
Okay.
I've just sent you there. So you have a notification on your screen. And
okay, yeah, it says join, so that'll put me in there automatically.
Yeah. I'm going to go into other for a minute, so I will see you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
So on mine, it says to join, but it says for residential and not for the EVMT.
You want to join EVMT?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jeff, would you like to move anywhere? Oh, just moved in. Okay. We have Kyle. Would you like to move anywhere?
Peter.
Peter is public.
I see.
Peter, my colleague from the convening.
Yeah, that's Peter. Hi, Peter. Hey,
Hi.
so we've got two folks that are by themselves. Just FYI, I'm noticing. Mary Elizabeth's the only one with infrastructure. And Debbie's the only one in regulatory and enforcement. I'm going to jump in with Debbie.
Will one of you jump in with infrastructure with Mary? She's alone.
Yeah, I can jump in there.
Great.
So
Okay.
UC Davis folks, you don't want to go to any room?
Yeah, I was gonna ask is it just meant for the CSC members or should public members stay in the main room?
I think you can join and observe if that's your role, Peter, and just disclose that if folks start to ask questions. And maybe join one of the busier rooms where there's more folks. So like EV mechanic has a lot of folks right now as well as trees.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, yeah, I guess we can join the EV mechanic.
You're doing EV mechanic?
Yeah, if you
Okay.
want to join with me, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I'm here being mentored by Peter today. Okay, cool.
If we are actually having the option of joining, and I originally understood that we wouldn't, but if it's possible, I wouldn't mind observing the regulatory and enforcement interaction.
Sure.
No, I'm just being a fly on the wall, apparently.
Me too, Brad.
I was just here to cover for the air monitoring update when that comes along. So I'm just chilling, doing emails in the background. So
Sounds good. I might join trees just to see how everything's going there and then come back if it's going well.
I'm going to go to the regulatory enforcement, Jessica, and I'll be right back.
So did you guys have a good Halloween? That was interesting. I did not hear a word you said, Jessica. Maybe I just lost it.
Yeah, Jessica, we can't hear you.
Were you able to hear me earlier?
I can hear you, Brad, but I can't hear Jessica.
I can hear both of you.
Yeah, I don't know what ended up happening.
Well, everyone's chit-chatting in the room, so that's good.
Mm-hmm. I just checked in on trees. It took them a little bit, but they just got their bowls started, so that's good.
I will be right back.
Well, did you have a good trip, Zong?
It was wonderful. I had a wonderful time in France. It was nice.
It looked good from the pictures, I should say.
Thanks. It was. I don't know if anyone on this meeting right now has done AmeriCorps Vista, but that's what I used was my education award from AmeriCorps Vista to study French for 2 weeks in France. So it was awesome.
That is awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
You and James went like on crazy adventures, like at the same.
Did we? Did we?
Did you?
Check in on school measures.
Okay.
Did you see James?
Was he in France?
No. He went to Mount Everest.
Wow. Hi, Mary. I don't see you there, but did you want to jump into a different room? Maybe she stepped away.
Yeah, no, he went on this crazy backpacking adventure. Ask him for a picture when you see him in that side of the office.
I will. I'll do that.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I think it's my headset. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Hi, Mary. Did Mary leave? I don't see her in another room. I don't know if she reassigned herself or if she just dropped off.
I believe she jumped off.
Okay.
Gabby, I did set a reminder for 120 seconds. When it starts counting down, do we still want to give them that 5-minute warning beforehand?
Yeah, I'll do a 10 and a 5. So I think I'll do one at 6:30 and then 6:35 as we close. Well, actually, did they start a little sooner? They're going to close sooner, I think.
I think I
Yeah.
started it. Oh, there's 17 minutes left.
I just saw that. So I'll keep checking that.
Okay.
Which groups have you checked, Amy? I checked on school measures and trees.
I went to the other ones. I went to residential measures. They were
Heather's
engaged in
there.
the conversation, heavy trucks, just getting started. I think the school, no, the
I just checked school.
EV mechanic, I haven't gone there. It's a lot of people. Or Taylor's in there.
And they have Taylor, so that group is okay. I went to trees.
Okay.
I
can go to outreach next.
Has anybody gone to infrastructure? Oh, there's no one there.
No.
Okay. And has anyone gone to residential measures?
Yeah, I went in there. They were engaged in the conversation.
Okay. Okay.
Same with the heavy trucks. They were just getting started.
Okay.
Oh, we could check their worksheets.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Check. Regulatory enforcement. Got notes. Oh yeah, they're on. They're good.
Hey, ladies, I just got a email from Ed Ward. He's he's on the phone. What does he need to push to unmute himself? Do you guys know?
Of course, I muted, as I said that. *6 and make sure that they don't have their mute button on the phone.
*6 to unmute.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure mute on his phone is not clicked. Thank you.
I will be right back.
I'm going to pop into EV mechanics real quick.
Gonna step away for a minute.
It's so exciting to see all the notes. Unfortunately, there isn't a way to extend the time once the time has been set. Otherwise, we could have given them like just about 10 more minutes or something, maybe a little less, but that's okay.
Well, you can force it to stay open. So when it pings you and it says breakout rooms are closing, you can say keep open.
Okay, I might try that until 6:40, just because it looks like people could use more time and we have until 6:40 for this. What do you think?
Yeah, so
Okay.
just be monitoring it and I'll look at it too as soon as it pops up.
Okay,
You have to, it'll just like blink. So we just have to make sure we keep it open.
okay. And we'll let Jessica know if she comes back so she doesn't close them either. Wow, regulatory enforcement is on it. They're like already talking about scheduling.
There's a lot of excitement on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, you guys needed to let me know something?
Oh, yes. We're going to try to keep it open to 6:40. So even when it says to start
Well, it
closing.
looks
We're
like
not.
Ed is back, Gabby. Ed, do you need us to move you to a room?
Looks like they're on the phone.
I think he just left the room.
Ed, you'll have to unmute on the
All right.
Zoom.
I am unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great now.
Okay, thank you, doctor. I'm sorry, I've just been struggling with this thing. I'm down, so.
No need
There
to
is a way of doing
apologize.
it if you, could you bump me over to Taylor's group on the EV mechanics?
Okay, it should give you a signal now, Ed, and you can move over.
Okay.
Sorry, I think you just sent that to me, Brad.
Oh, oops. Hold on.
I think I sent it to you, Ed. Did you get a pop-up to say join
Yeah,
room?
I don't see it yet. I don't have a.
Oh,
I think he got it.
I think he got it. Let's see.
And then where is?
No, I think we might have lost him actually.
Oh, his camera's off.
I'm back on. It jumped me for a minute, but I don't know where it took me.
Can we merge his?
I've lost the picture. The good news, I did get in. And
At least you're here, Ed. We really appreciate it. I'm sorry about all the technology issues. Oh, he's gone now.
Oh, they're back.
I'm going to turn off my camera just in case it's too much for the system. Can you get me over there, or are we? I haven't seen any pop-ups at all.
Ed, it says that you're already like there. You just haven't accepted. I wonder at the very bottom of your screen, can you see something on your menu that says breakout rooms?
No, Gabby, I don't. Well, oh, you know what? I clicked more and it came up join breakout room. So I apologize once again. It's
no problem. No need to apologize, Ed.
Inability to operate. So, all right, I'm going to join the room. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Good luck.
Oh, it doesn't tell. Oh, okay. School measures, outreach, EV mechanic, join.
There you go. The blue join button. Okay, they did it. Oh, no, they didn't. Were you able to do it, Ed? I think they may, oh, they did it.
People are coming back.
I think some people
I just popped back in because we kind of got everything we needed to get, and it sounded like they would like to have a little bit of a personal conversation of stuff that I wasn't necessarily familiar with. So I wanted to give them that space privately.
Thanks, Scott.
And then Gabby, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, But since I did put that 40-minute time limit, I think the rooms are going to close automatically.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Let's test it and see. I think Amy was saying that a pop-up would show first, and so then we can click keep rooms open, but let's just see if it lets us. Otherwise, we can give people like a 2-minute warning at the 120-second countdown.
Okay.
See, the residential measures folks are back. So welcome back. We're going to give everybody, it looks like some people are still wrapping up their conversation. So we'll see if we can give them about 5 more minutes. If we close a little sooner than that, we'll let you know. Yeah, I think they are going to close. They have a countdown. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. We were trying to extend your time beyond the 40 minutes, but once we set the timer, it was beyond our control. We hope that you had a productive 40 minutes. You did take a peek at some of those handouts, and it's great just to see all the notes that people are jotting down and all the excitement around these subcommittees. As people are joining, we'll give them just a couple more seconds. But I will hand it back to Taylor just so that he can wrap us up with some concluding thoughts, you know, even as a participant in the breakout rooms. And then, yeah, just share a little bit more about how that went. So just to let you know, Taylor, people are still trickling in, but I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll just speak from my experience with my group, but I had an amazing conversation. We got through all of our points. We have co-leads. We have the plan for kickoff date, but we'll be doodle polling as our first responsibility as co-leads. So yeah, very exciting to see all these things come together. But yeah, in general, like I hope everyone's conversations went equally well. But I think this is like the beginning of, you know, how we lead as a community on these very specific parts of the implementation process, which is super exciting. Like I didn't realize, talking to Jess before she had mentioned it on this call, that like this is a new process. Yeah. So excited to break ground on some cool new stuff in Stockton, process wise. So yeah, I mean, with that, I mean, that's all I think I really have to share, except for in terms of like next steps and how we like actually like use this information. So I mean, to use the example of like our group, we got as far as like what days of the days of the week work well, but I didn't get to like an actual date. So like Ed and I will follow up with like a doodle poll, but also like now that the Air District and the facilitator and everybody has like information to this, we can use this information to like support co-leads, or like Air District can help support co-leads using all of this and understand like what are the open questions and start to address like who needs to be brought into the room and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Absolutely. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I know we were all kind of popping in as Taylor was talking. I certainly enjoyed my time. In the others, I think we're gonna maybe add one more subcommittee to talk about harmful algal blooms. So I really appreciate the opportunity to actually have that others group. I think it worked out really well. To Taylor's point, we have all of those notes. And so what we can do is we can follow up with all of the folks that volunteered to be the co-leads, or at least were interested in being part of that lead process. Once again, I want to make sure folks don't think that they just now took on a second job or anything to that effect. So we are there to help you. We will reach out from the district. And as always, at least at this point, when we do start scheduling subcommittee meetings, to Taylor's point, everyone can be invited to take the doodle poll. Everyone will get the calendar invite. So just because you were in one group and not the other doesn't mean you now can never work on the trees or provide your input. That just means that you provided input on one thing today, but will be invited to all the other processes. So I just wanted to share that one more time and thank everyone so much.
Thank you, Taylor and Jessica. All right, well, yeah, we look forward to taking a look at these notes more closely and just supporting the process of having these subcommittees officially unfold. So our next agenda items are actually around our standing updates. So the first one is for community air monitoring, and I believe Chai Tao will be providing the update.
Good evening. Chai is not able to make tonight's meeting, but my name is Brad Dawson. If you don't know, I'm the supervisor over the air monitoring for the Stockton community and all of our AB617 communities. And just to give a quick update, don't want to take any more time from tonight, but we've been quite busy. Just to kind of give a quick hash off, the area A, we've identified, or the community wanted, a real-time PM 2.5 monitor in that area. All of our sites, we lost the ability to go to a lot of the school sites, so we're looking for alternatives. And we are in contact and discussions with the Hagen Museum. We are just nailing out some logistical infrastructure and electrical discussions so we can move forward with putting the air monitor there and getting that online as soon as possible. And the great part about that one is it's only about 700 yards away from the agreed location that we were trying to shoot for at Victory Elementary School. Off of that, in the area B, in the last meetings we discussed with that we were working with the Port of Stockton, and that the subcommittee and the committee in general was concerned that they wanted us to be able to work with the Port of Stockton, but they really wanted us in that community, in the Bog Center, community center, the community garden area. We were down there, we talked with the management of the Port of Stockton and found out that they actually own the community garden there. So we are looking forward to partnering with the Port of Stockton and the gardening people that are leasing that land for the community garden. So we're going to pair up with all three parties so we can get that monitor into Boggs Tract for a long-term deployment, working with the Port of Stockton as well as the gardeners at that site. So really excited with that new development. In area G, there have been, that was where we were going to put a multi-pollutant monitor at Merlot. It was discussed that different locations such as the Sierra Vista Housing Authority was something that we were going to work with and see. We actually got in discussion with the fairgrounds, and they have actually approved us to be at their at the fairgrounds, which would actually be only 300 yards away from the initial location at Merlot. So that's something that we're bringing to the community committee today. If we are still waiting to hear back from the Sierra Vista Housing Authority, but we have already been given the go-ahead with the fairgrounds if we wanted to move forward in that direction. Regarding the rest of the areas, we are still running with leads that our subcommittee, this steering committee has been giving us. We are still, I'm knocking on people's doors. We're sending lots of emails trying to get some type of traction. If you have any other things, please leave those in the comments. I read through all those comments as well and pour that into this community so we can try to get air monitor to each one of the communities as we've been working for. And to top that off, I do not see a Mr. Matt Holmes in this meeting, but I'd like to give a tip of my cap off to Matt Holmes and the and Little Manila. We've reached out with Matt, we've discussed, we've actually, and they've been very accommodating. Last week we deployed an air monitoring van to the Little Manila Center, and we've been actually running it for a solid week so far. And hopefully we get another week or two out of that site. So we're going to have some preliminary Stockton data from one of our mobile monitoring vans that's parked stationary at the Little Manila Center, kind of in the heart of this community. And we hope to be able to process that data and get that initial information out to this community steering committee in a future upcoming meeting. So thank you, Matt Holmes and the Little Manila group for graciously hosting us.
Thanks for the updates, Brad. And apologies about not knowing that you were presenting the updates today. Sorry about that mix-up.
Oh, that was our
Don't worry.
Our next update is from Elaine at Little Manila Rising around the trees subcommittee.
That is something that I wasn't too entirely sure about. For folks who was part of the tree subcommittee meeting, I apologize, Matt didn't inform me about this update.
Oh, no, it's okay. I can definitely, basically there is a meeting on, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm opening up our tree subcommittee. I think at this point, a lot of the tree subcommittee probably, and I'm thinking even our next update, we're probably taken care of in all of the discussions in the breakout groups just now. So sorry, Elaine, for not kind of indicating that. And that the next tree subcommittee meeting, I believe, is already scheduled for the 16th of this month. And so I think the update there is just, once again, that will be hosted by Little Manila. I believe Matt is now our co-lead, and like we said, that's a prime example of what that is. And the that continuous agenda that's at the top that Taylor shared earlier is a place where I think everyone can go to see kind of what's coming up at the next meeting. So thanks, Elaine.
Thank you both. And then the next update is actually from you, Jessica, around the EV mechanic training and the subcommittee town hall.
Absolutely. And so folks, just so everyone knows, I mentioned this at the last agenda setting meeting, but we have been working, and I'm sure there was a robust discussion. I'm really looking forward to the notes with some folks that have a lot of information on current EV mechanics trainings happening up and down the valley. As a preview, we love the concept, of course, of having some folks that were local come and sort of update us on what's happening locally. But it turns out a lot of what's happening locally is sort of from this larger sort of valley-wide effort. And so the thought was that instead of having the same folks update 3 different CSC groups on the same information, at least as sort of like a baseline, we were hoping to sort of have a town hall with folks from Shafter and from Fresno, as well as Stockton, come to one meeting where we can sort of talk about the measures. It's the same measure in all 3 communities. Talk about the measure, talk about what's already happening, and talk about options for next steps. And so I'll just preview that basically right now, at least at the community colleges in a lot of the Valley communities, including Delta College, there is already an EV mechanics training curriculum. And there is already free tuition for folks to be a part of that. And so since that was the original intent of the measure, we want to sort of make sure everyone has the baseline information from the folks that have been involved in that development, the baseline information from the folks implementing that. So we as kind of a group then can go back, break out into the subcommittees that you've already talked about, and then take that information and then independently in every community kind of decide from there maybe what we do. And so the update there is just we are working with those contacts, those same folks that a lot of folks here, including Ed Ward, who's been a really big proponent of this, have given us those contacts. We will be scheduling that town hall hopefully in the next several weeks, although there were some conflicts with some of our contacts. And then from there, use that as our baseline. So that is the update and sort of the background on the next steps there.
Thank you, Jessica. And then we also had a couple announcements in that they weren't originally on the agenda, but wanted to make space for those. The first one was around the Drive Clean / tune-up event. I think Matt was going to give the update, but I wonder, Jessica, if you wouldn't mind stepping in to provide that.
Absolutely. So actually, Matt could not make it, but he was gracious enough to sort of let us know that, and I totally agree. And it was actually something we were planning to update, but I appreciate his leadership. As we've heard a lot today, a lot of kudos. Hopefully, I'm sure Elaine's like texting him like, yeah, lots of Matt kudos. But certainly with everyone who's been involved. And I'm going to share my screen briefly. And it's something that we will let everyone who's not a part of this meeting today know as well. Tune in, tune up. If you recall from when we introduced this into the SERP, is an event where there's free smog repair for Valley residents. And this is happening actually at the fairgrounds, which is in the Boundary. This is something that we've always been doing. This is an event that's been scheduled actually for a long time. Our commitment in the SERP, if you recall, is committing to have additional specific events within the community per year. So normally there's about one per year that's in the community. It's a very well attended event, actually typically like turn people away. There's usually throughout a day, you can probably get, I'm talking to the team about 350 to 450 cars through the event in a day. And so adding an additional event is something that we're really looking forward to doing through the SERP. But that doesn't mean, even though this hasn't been approved through our project plan approval process with CARB yet, it's something that we can start advertising now. It's something that's happening in the community. It's above and beyond what's happening in the SERP. And we will let folks know about this. We will send out this information to the CSC as well as our typical outreach that we do through our partners, which are Valley Clean Air Now. So that is something I wanted to acknowledge. I'm actually dropping this link in the chat right now so you can all see this after the fact.
Thank you. And then our last announcement today would come from Jonathan Pruitt around the Stockton Community Coalition kickoff meeting.
Great. Let me see if I could just share a quick screen to show you guys the flyer. This is a community coalition hosted by Rise Stockton and a few other environmental justice organization partners. This is really a way to come and support, to learn your community. We're going to be this is going to happen on Saturday, November 6th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is a sort of a good virtual event platform to hop in.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Where you'll be able to engage in breakout sessions, which is the STEP grant, which is the Stockton Mobility Collective now that it's called. So we definitely encourage you to attend, celebrate with us and connect with your community. This of course is on a Saturday, and learn about the environmental justice projects happening in Stockton. The event is offered with live captioning, and it will also be provided in Spanish translation. I will provide the RSVP or register link in the chat. And yeah, hope you guys will be able to make it. And if you want, you can scan the code. Maybe I can make it bigger. You all need to scan the code. Feel free to do it right here. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. I believe those are all of our updates for today's meeting. And of course, folks will be posting information here in the chat, so feel free to follow up if you're curious or interested in attending some of those events. So with that, we're at our final agenda item here around the wrap up and next steps. So I just wanted to share the action items here with you all first, and then we can talk about the next meetings that have been scheduled. So let me share my screen very quickly. Can everybody see this Google Doc here?
Yes.
Great, I see some thumbs up. Thanks for the verbal confirmation. So at every CSC meeting, there's going to be an agenda item to review the progress towards some of the action items, as Jessica mentioned. Individuals and organizations responsible for the action items can send updates via email to the AIR district so that we can announce them at these meetings. The subcommittees will be facilitated by residents for now, and in the future, the AIR district or CARB staff, if they are needed for support, they can join at the request of CSC members. At any time, CSC members can join different subcommittee meetings, so please note that, as Jessica said, you're not restricted to only joining the one that you're interested in leading. And then finally, subcommittee meetings need to be organized in an inclusive approach that allows for all individuals, regardless of ability, to actively participate. So those are the action items from today's meeting. I'll leave them here for just a few more seconds, and then maybe hopefully see if I can copy these into the chat. Okay. And then now for our next meeting, let's see. Apologies here, it's taking just a minute to get the screen going. Okay, our next meeting, our next agenda setting meeting just got rescheduled. So the invitation came out today or yesterday, I believe. So it's now happening at 4 p.m. Tuesday, November 9th. And as a reminder, this was rescheduled due to the Veterans Day holiday. And then the next CSC meeting is in a month from now on Wednesday, December 1st at 5 p.m. in the same Zoom link. From now on, this will be the standing Zoom link for all future Stockton CSC meetings. Okay, these are everything we had in terms of wrap up and next steps. I can hand it back to Jessica in case there's anything else she wanted to add before we move to public comment. And I just saw a head nod, so we can move to public comment. So if anybody has anything to share, feel free to post in the chat or unmute and share verbally. And then I will be asking Heather if there are any public comments coming in through the YouTube Live.
We do not have public comment in YouTube Live.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments here in the Zoom? Okay. Well, with that, I think I can let everybody enjoy the rest of their Wednesday evening. It was great to see you all again, and thank you so much for participating, and as always, for bearing with us through all the technological things that we need to get through in these meetings. Really appreciate you all, and we will see you in a month.
Thank you. Have a great night. Great job, Taylor.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Great meeting.
And then Amy, I think you can stop the live and then end the meeting.
Do I usually, am I supposed to stick around after this? I don't know. The protocol.
Sometimes you definitely don't have to. No, sometimes we try to get it off YouTube Live, and then we usually high five. People are seeing this live right now.
Yeah, right.
We are done. We are off YouTube. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Taylor. You got lots of love tonight.
Oh, it's still